Hi everyone, I'm going to present my pessimistic view of mathematics education. I apologise for that. So, can I get anybody here who teaches maths to raise their hand for me? Give me an idea. Okay, some? Excellent. All right, so to just give you a bit of background on the university that my colleague and I are from. We're from Australia, and here's this pointer. I live here, and my colleague lives down here. Our university has 24 campuses and study centre across Australia. It's a little bit ridiculous. We have, now, statistics people. How many statistics people here? All right, what do you notice about my slide? Okay, here I'm using numbers. Here I'm using full-time equivalent. And this is because this is the way that our university has presented the data in their final report. And so I can't get the actual numbers, so it's a little bit hard to do some comparisons. So we have about 30,000 students. Of those, 13,747 thereabouts are distance education. So we saw Al-Marie talking about distance education and improving satisfaction for students. So we have a lot of distance education students. We have the 3,000 staff. Of those, 1,300 are continuing full-time. So if we break that down, and this is where my data falls apart, we have academic full-time equivalent of about 440 academic staff. And those academic staff need to cover, oops, got on the wrong button, all of these campuses right across here. So this university recently just took over the vet sector, so we also have vet staff and vet student. That's part of the reason why we've got so many campuses. Places like where I live, there's 2 campuses. Then I'll get to... And this is how I see our VC's vision of our university. He wants to be ubiquitous. So in Australia, there's about 24 million people. The country's about 8 million kilometres square, so that averages out about 3 people per square kilometre. So most of our population sits down on this coast here. So usually from about this area, up here's pretty nothing. We've got desert in the middle here. So the VC just wants to be all over the place, which means that our staff get to be spread further. So we stay in the same place, but then we have to teach all over the place. So mathematics is currently in crisis, and several researchers have noted that students are neither entering higher education with adequate skills in mathematics nor graduating with strong mathematical skills. So what do we do with this problem? Added to that is the Australian government has what we call TEXA. So that's the Higher Education Quality Assurance Association. And one of the standards from TEXA is to support transitions, including accessing the needs and preparedness of individual students and cohorts, undertaking early assessment or review that provides formative feedback on academic progress and is able to identify needs of additional support, and providing access to informed advice and timely referral to academic and other support systems. Now remember that we've got lots of campuses and not too many staff. We then have the problems where we're bringing in wider participation. Now, the first 2 presenters spoke about the breaking down the barriers of the universities and bringing in more students. You've also talked about the commercialisation of universities. So we've got time-poor staff, shorter terms. Our particular university runs 3 terms a year. So we have 3 12-week terms with 5 weeks in between. The 5 weeks in between include the examination period, getting the results together into the system. Students don't know if they've passed their course until the Friday of the week before they start the next term. So then that causes problems with prerequisites and knock-on. So staff are usually finishing off one term while still preparing for the next term. All right. So I'm going to have a quick look at solving the problem and then destroying the solution. So, am I supposed to dance to that? Okay, so with our wider participation and also with the Texas standard that says that we have to provide support, we've tried to think of different solutions to try and assist the mathematics students to build up their knowledge, plug the gaps that they might have, help them through their courses. And then the university assists us by making our life difficult. So we had individual freestanding mathematics learning centres within our university. They were located on several of the regional campuses, and then all the other students could access them via email, telephone. So they provided individual and group assistance with the content. They were staffed by academics with mathematics-based degrees, so either a mathematician, a physicist, engineer. They offered flexible hours because the staff ran their individual centre. They worked with their teaching, and the students would come and see them, and they'd fit them around what they could do. And if you want to know more about mathematics learning centres in Australia, McGilvray did a report in 2008 on all of the mathematics learning centres. The one that we ran rated quite highly in that report, but it's been disbanded. So the Mathematics Learning Centre that we had in 2012, we merged with the Language Learning Centre, and they put a language person in charge of the Maths Learning Centre. So what happened was they decided that we should run it should be a shop front. So on the campus where I work, and the Mathematics Learning Centre that I ran, moved in to have set hours. So they had 5 hours per week, set times where the students could just call and assist, get help. They put it in a room with a complete glass front where everybody outside could see who was in the centre. So the centre when I ran it was in, we call it a donga. It's a, did you want to ask a question? Oh, okay, stretch. So basically, almost like a shipping container. And it was next to the engineering building. So the students could just sneak over, because if anybody knows teenage boys asking for help, no, they don't like to do it. We reckon the best way to get them into a maths learning centre would be to build a maze. So they walk in one door and then they can sneak out another one somewhere else and nobody knows they've been there. So they changed this and they put them in a shop front. So as a consequence, the students just stopped going, because who wants to sit there and let all their friends know that they don't understand? So then it became staffed by casuals. So they didn't really have a good idea of what was going on in the university. They gave them inadequate training. So because it was run by language people, now they said, you know maths, you know everything, you can just go sit there, help anybody that turns up. And we went, but we don't have any of our textbooks in here. They went, can't you write a cheat sheet? Yeah, right. One A4 piece of paper will cover all of the maths I'm ever going to need in an entire university. And the fixed hours, anybody who's done maths knows that you hit an impasse, you get to here, you can't get over it. So you need help there and then. Once you've got that, you move on. But because of the fixed hours, students were having to wait an entire week to get past that, so they just stopped coming. So we also have enabling courses, so they provide the foundation knowledge. So the Mathematics Learning Centre, once they got to university, they could seek help. The enabling courses were to bridge the gap and get them into university. So students who were university students that were not doing well at their maths could drop back and do the enabling courses. So at the same time, the Maths Learning Centres were merged. The enabling courses changed as well, so they brought in a head and program. The maths courses stopped being run by the mathematicians, basically, so they didn't get to make the decisions based on that. The head of program was language-based and felt that they knew how to do it best. So we end up with a workload structure that didn't allow the flexibility that we previously had, so that combined with the fixed hours in the MLC meant the students weren't able to come and see you, get assistance. The decision makers were non-mathematicians, so they didn't understand maths, they didn't understand how the student worked. They didn't realise that this small problem here could be related to something back there, and unless they actually see a person, they don't know that there's a hole back here that they need to plug to fix this one here. So then we thought, well, how else are we going to help these students? So we decided we'd create video-enhanced multiple choice questions. So what this does is it sits within our learning management system. And Moodle is open in week -2. So 2 weeks before term starts, we have a quiz. The one in my course is called How Do You Know What You Don't Know? And the students can do the quiz, and it's basically the knowledge that they need for that particular course. If they get a question wrong, they can either watch a video, and as Elle-Marie was talking about videos in her courses, so they can watch the video and then they can reattempt the question so that they complete that feedback loop, or they have access to a module that they can do. And we did surveys on this, and the students found that they were great. They could test their knowledge at any time. They got immediate feedback. One of the students said that they'd never felt so supported ever. And the good thing about it was, once you'd already done them, then they rolled over, you didn't have to do any more work. So what happened? The university took a vanilla approach to our learning management system, which meant that we got no bells and whistles, scale it all back. They reduced the number of technical support staff, so each term every academic has to roll their own course over. The problem with rolling your own course over is your videos don't always come over, your links don't work. So then we had all of these video-enhanced multiple choice quizzes that didn't work. So the students then couldn't watch the videos, they couldn't see the PDFs. The equation editor in our Moodle doesn't really work very well, so the students would be saying to me, I don't understand what EM is in this equation. And if anyone here has done programming, EM is just the space from, so we go, well then I had to write them out and give them to them because they couldn't see what was supposed to be there because the equation editor wasn't working. So other factors that are affecting the study of mathematics and the lecturer, am I close to finished, is the corporatisation of the universities, with UCOV spoke about, government funding cuts, so we're now trying to make limited number of staff, do more. Reduced administrative support, so the academics are doing more of the admin work as long as trying to teach their students. Brilliant ideas of management. At one stage, management decided that in week 3, the course coordinator or the lecturer would bring every distance student in their course. And then redundancy. So we have, I think, we've got hardly any mathematicians left in our university. At one stage we had no mathematicians and only statisticians to teach the mathematics. STEM is a high priority in Australia, but the maths and science courses are usually the first units to be cut and the staff to go. And the staff have increasingly more to do with less support. So in conclusion, in higher education, we've broken down the barriers to allow greater number and variety of students to commence, but forgotten the vital ingredient in academic survival, the educator. That's me.